Sweatshops in Indonesia. Kade's Story by Jennifer Kenny. Kade lives in Indonesia. She works in a shoe factory with many other workers, mostly women. She works very long hours and receives very little pay. Even though she works quite hard, she lives in poverty. In the shoe factory, shoes, mainly sneakers, are manufactured for companies in the United States. Why are these products made so far away? Well, for many companies in the United States, sending their operations overseas lowers their costs and actually increases their profits. Why would the system work this way? In many other countries, especially developing third world countries, employees can be paid a lot less money. Kade is grateful for her job. However, the conditions under which she works are quite difficult, if not dangerous. The building is hot and dingy. Her bosses are mean and yell a lot, almost to the point of being abusive. She is often forced to work overtime but clock out hours ahead of that, therefore being left unpaid for the extra time. This can be exhausting. In fact, friends of hers have actually fainted on the job. Kade would never think to complain. She would lose her job if she did. Due to the poor and dangerous working conditions, the factory where Kade works is considered a sweatshop. Sometimes, even some of her most basic rights are denied. Some workers have tried to unionize in order to change the conditions. They were fired. Sweatshops are not new in the world. The conditions are very much like those in the earliest factories of the United States. These factories, many of which manufactured clothes cheaply and quickly, were often dangerous and paid very little. They were crowded, poorly ventilated, and left workers prone to fires and injuries. Gradually, as the country became more developed, safety regulations and labor laws were created. Today, sweatshops can exist in any country. However, the term generally refers to third world countries. Here, anything from clothing to furniture is produced. The issue of sweatshops is a difficult one to resolve. On the one hand, the factory jobs offer opportunities in places such as Indonesia, Vietnam, or India. In some cases, there wouldn't be any jobs if these sweatshops closed. Critics would argue, though, that sweatshops are equivalent to slavery. They want to see the manufacturing companies apply the U.S. reforms to their sweatshops overseas. Increasingly, there has been more pressure on American companies. Some companies have bowed to the pressure and pledged to monitor the conditions. Kade even knows of a nearby factory that changed certain chemicals to non-hazardous ones, improved the ventilation system, and even gave the factory workers chairs with backs. She's heard these minor improvements have helped the workers and actually improved productivity. Unfortunately, that's the exception to the rule. Many sweatshops remain. These remaining sweatshops often keep wages low, believing the U.S. companies will pool the work and move it to a different country if the costs get too high. Many try to cover up the abuses. Even if the wages meet third world country standards, they are often much lower than what a family needs to live. However, those in charge of the factories may feel the need to push the workers for 16 hours a day, or cheat them out of pay just to squeeze out costs for the American or European companies. There have been numerous protests and calls for reforms on the part of American companies which have sent work out to sweatshops overseas. Some companies outwardly dismiss the claims. Some have allowed inspectors to visit. In many of these factories, the charges were found to be true. Many times wages were unpaid, overtime was excessive, and safety was poor. Some companies have tried to make improvements. However, the reality is that very few American companies will allow overseas audits completed independently. In Kade's case, she earns 22 cents an hour, while the shoe company in the United States turns a 40% profit. How fast will change come? In the United States, there have been proposals that if standards are not met in overseas factories, there would be high fines or a boycott of these products in the United States. However, in third world countries, there remains an overabundance of people needing jobs. Even if the pay is very low, it is unlikely that the changes will be swift.